Alright, so just finished Ghost of Tsushima. It took me a little bit to get done, but I beat it. So this is going to be a review. I'm going to say how many hours put into it and how it compares to the last exclusive that came out, which is Last of Us Part 2, which a lot of people are doing that comparison. And honestly, this is a question whose better game is. So I'm going to go over graphics, story, characters, voice acting, gameplay, all that stuff. Basically, if it's worth the money. So, Ghost of Tsushima is a third-person action game made by Sucker Punch, the guys who are famous for Infamous, and it's a fucking brilliant game. I love it. I played it on stream. You can watch the stream on my YouTube channel. I was enjoying the hell out of it. It was a great experience. Really beautiful story. Gorgeous graphics. And honestly, I found the experience more enjoyable to sit through than The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I'm not going to hate on the game, so any Last of Us Part 2 fans, do not attack me. I'm just going to state my opinion and say that Ghost of Tsushima is a far better game than The Last of Us Part 2. And I'm going to explain why. For one thing, the story, infinitely better. I enjoy a classic samurai story more than anything. I love old samurai cinema, and this feels like watching just a great samurai flick. Last of Us Part 2 just felt like they were trying to cram this unnecessary SJW bullshit down your throat for no reason other than for Naughty Dog to force you to watch their agendas. With Ghost of Tsushima, they don't care. They want to bring you a great story while being very authentic to Japanese culture, which they, in fact, did. And don't believe articles where people are saying, oh, the game is racist. No. In fact, Japanese critics are praising the game for its authenticity, especially coming from Western game developers in America. To get it that right, they're impressed and they praise the game. Not only because of that, because of how good the game is, gameplay and all that. So do not believe articles that say Ghost of Tsushima is racist. That's only them saying that because Americans made a game that's about Japanese culture. And if they honestly believe that, they're dumb as hell. The game is not racist. The game is very faithful and very, very, very true to bringing you an authentic Japanese experience in terms of the culture and the locations. It's very authentic in that way. Gameplay is fun as hell. I praise Last of Us Part 2 for its gameplay, but I gotta say, Ghost of Tsushima blew it out of the water. The combat feels nice and smooth with great diverse of attacks. You have different attacks for different enemy types, or you could use the same ones and get fucked up. It takes kind of a bit of skill. You have to learn when to block, when not to block, when to dodge, when not to dodge. And, oh man, the boss fights are so incredibly well done. It is just fun. There is one boss fight near the end of Act 1 that is not only emotional, but is intense and fun as fuck. They build it up very nicely, and it pays off, and you believe it. It's gorgeous. The gameplay is fun. The combat is brutal as fuck, with nice animations to killing people with your sword. The actual combat itself looks realistic. Looks like someone mocap for it. I'm pretty sure they did. It's just fun. And honestly, I'd rather play this than Last of Us Part 2. Overall, I've put in over about 55 to 60 hours in Ghost of Tsushima, not even close to 100%ing it. I think I'm at 88%. So, you get a lot of content here. I mainly took my time with the story. I branched out, explored the open world, wanted to take in this gorgeous world that Sucker Punch made. It is gorgeous. The world is so much better. Again, this is a praise I gave Last of Us Part 2. Was its setting, how well they did it. Again, Ghost of Tsushima just slaps it across the face, makes it his bitch, because this world is absolutely stunning. You have swamp-like marshlands, you have beautiful locations with, you walk into an area, there's leaves falling, and the leaves interact with your body. Like you walk and leaves hit your body and fall off. It's so immersive. It's so immersive. And again, you got to commend Sucker Punch for that. They really took their time building an immersive open world for people to explore and play in. And I'm telling you right now, you will have tons of fun in this open world. Tons of fun. The graphics, again, another thing I applauded Last of Us Part 2 for. Last of Us Part 2 was a phenomenal looking game. Is Ghost of Tsushima as good looking? Maybe not. The facial animations aren't as good. But here's the difference. This game was made on a lesser budget, but it somehow manages in the world graphics, because of the color they use, it pops more. The game pops. It's more attention grabbing. I'd rather walk in a field of purple flowers with a sword fighting people than walk in a dreary Seattle. And that's really the main thing, is that the world is just like beautiful. And the graphics, while they're not as good as Last of Us Part 2, they're still beautiful. Especially for me playing this on a base PS4. It's pretty good looking. It is a gorgeous looking game. It is. I don't think it's on the level as Last of Us Part 2, because again, that game had a bigger studio behind it. It had a higher budget. But for what they did with a smaller studio and a smaller budget, blows me away. And I can't imagine what they would do with a bigger studio and bigger budget. So, I mean, while it's not as good as Last of Us Part 2, it's still a gorgeous looking game. Characters. Your main character, Jin, is an intriguing protagonist. I've heard people say he's bland and all that, but I am personally involved with Jin. My entire story, I cared. That's less what I can say for Abby's story and Last of Us Part 2. I couldn't care less for my 10-hour playthrough of Abby's part in Last of Us Part 2. I could care less. I wanted to get back to Ellie. Jin, from Ghost of Tsushima, intriguing protagonist. Intriguing, well written, well voice acted from both English and Japanese, which I'll get to that in a second because this is badass. But every single character in this game, even the villains, they have an actual motivation and well written like stories. The villain of Tsushima is a way better antagonist than the villain in Last of Us Part 2, aka Abby. It's better written. These characters are just better written. They took their time with the script and it paid off. They didn't worry about agenda push and they didn't worry about shoving their politics garbage down your throat. Sucker Punch cared about making a game. Last of Us Part 2, Naughty Dog, they only cared about giving you their agenda. And that's where they failed. And Sucker Punch rises. They gave you this intriguing story with intriguing characters. I cared for Jin's story. I could give a fuck less about Abby's. And that's a bad thing because the second half of Last of Us Part 2 is Abby. And I just don't care. I just don't. Let's go over features. Last of Us Part 2 didn't come with anything. Ghost of Tsushima comes with a lot of features. For one thing, you have a beautiful photo mode. Yes, Last of Us Part 2 has a photo mode. But it does not have near as many features as Ghost of Tsushima. In Ghost of Tsushima's photo mode, not only can you control the particle effects, you control the wind, if the background's moving, color palette, expression, anything you can control with the camera. It can make for some gorgeous screenshots for your PS4. I honestly rock one of my screenshots as my background because I did one that was in a field of flowers. I stabbed a guy through a chest. I put fireflies around me. I took the screenshot. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Not only that, but they have Samurai Mode, which is the actual game with Japanese acting. Well, with Japanese actors. And that's what I played it on. And if you go on my stream, you can listen to how good the voice acting is on that side. I've yet to play the other modes. There's a mode where the screen is black and white. It's kind of fuzzy. And it has distorted audio to make it feel like an old school, like, samurai movie, which I will be playing through on stream pretty soon. But It's just loaded with features. The only thing I wish they would include is a new Game Plus mode. If they included that, that would be amazing. But we don't have that, and I'm fine with that. I don't mind that. Hopefully, in the next update, they'll add a new Game Plus. Hopefully, they will. What else can I go over? I already went over the story, graphics, characters, gameplay, features. I mean, all I can do now is just give you guys a final verdict. And right now, I'm going to re-review Last of Us Part 2. After playing Ghost of Tsushima, I immediately realized I was wrong about The Last of Us Part 2. And I'm immediately dropping my score from a 7 to a 5. Ghost of Tsushima, though, is getting a 10 out of 10. This is a must-own for PlayStation owners. If you own a PS4 or you're planning to get a PS5, grab this game. You will not regret it. This is easily one of my favorite games of this year. And it will make my S tier on my end of the year games tier list. I promise you that. This game was worth the purchase. And if you have the time, get the deluxe edition. You will get the beautiful soundtrack. Oh my god, the music. You will get the beautiful soundtrack from the game on your PS4. I got the collector's edition, so I got the digital soundtrack as well. I listen to it all the time. It's a gorgeous soundtrack. Beautiful. Guys, do yourself a favor. Pick up this game. It's totally worth the $60, and it's a great quarantine playing game because you will be lost in this world. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll talk to you guys next time.